We just spent the last just under 2 months traveling through Italy. We started in the northern region and we made our way about as far as you can get south. Now, when you're traveling to Italy, one thing everybody always tells you is, it's Italy, it's amazing. And they just tell you all these great things about it.
Yes, and they would be correct. It is amazing and there are a lot of great things about Italy. There are also some cons. And one of those cons is our expenses. And we're going to cover all that, but we're going to get to the pros and cons right now.
So we're going to start with what we loved about Italy, because honestly, that's a really easy place to start. We loved the old towns and the absolutely gorgeous architecture, the rich culture, the history, being able to travel out into the Tuscan hillside and take in the wineries and just all of that region. It was very much what you see in pictures and what you expect.
Yeah, and sometimes when you go into a place, you get there and it's not quite as Instagrammable as you might have imagined. Well, in Italy it is. So that was definitely a positive that we got to experience. We also got to experience the food, the pizza, the pasta, the seafood, the desserts, the gelato, the wine at about $6 a bottle. You can't beat
Hard
that.
to beat that.
Yeah, and so those two things alone really made the experience that much more enjoyable.
Another thing that we really appreciated is no matter where we traveled, in all the little towns and bigger cities that we were in, we felt very safe, and that is something that I know we get a lot of questions about of how safe we feel. We do get questions as well as for if you were traveling alone, how safe would you feel? And I would say that I'd feel safe everywhere that we went.
Okay, now this next one, being Americans, coming from the US and running the rat race, this doesn't just pertain to Italy, it's Europe in general. But Italy does have that relaxed, laid-back lifestyle. You stop and get yourself a coffee. You smell the roses as you walk by, maybe. But we really do enjoy the pace of life here in Italy. It's something that didn't really surprise us.
No,
we're getting used to it. There
yeah.
are times, though, I still get kind of antsy.
We do. I mean, sometimes you are like, where's our waiter? And you kind of have to look for him. But I also, there's an appreciation of not having them come and hound you with the bill and hurry you along. So the other thing that we found as a real positive was in any of the bigger cities that we traveled to, English was very widely spoken. So if that's a concern of yours, which I know for many people it is the communication, not an issue whatsoever.
Yeah, in the bigger cities it wasn't a problem at all. And that brings me to my next point, is Italy is a very good launching point to get really anywhere you need to in the region. Whether it be Turkey, whether it be Western Europe, it's a great place to jump on a flight and get anywhere you need to go.
Now, are there any cons traveling
to
Italy?
There's no way. It's Italy.
You'd think not, but there are some cons. We actually found a few. One of them that stood out probably more in certain areas than others was how it could be quite dirty. Now, in the bigger cities, sometimes you can just expect that. When we would go to the smaller kind of picturesque towns, you didn't see that so much.
Very clean, correct.
Right. Yeah. You're traveling a ways to drop off your garbage. You're not putting it right outside the doorstep. You don't have a garbage can right at your place. You're traveling a good couple blocks or whatever to drop your garbage off. Garbage cans kind of overflowing, things like that. Now, when we arrived into our final stop, which was Palermo, we were honestly shocked. And we'll kind of go a little bit more into that situation later. But we were honestly shocked at how incredibly dirty it was.
Right.
Out of all the places that we have traveled, and we've been to Southeast Asia, we have not seen it that dirty.
Now, we are going to get some negative comments about these cons. And that one's probably going to be the number one thing we're going to get the most negative comments about.
That's okay.
That's okay. We've been to a lot of places, and Palermo was the dirtiest.
Yeah, just what it was.
It's just what it is.
And we were there for a while. It's not like we were there for 2 days.
Okay, now we've mentioned all these great positive things about Italy. With that comes the price of housing and eating out, just your general costs of things that you would expect to spend money on. Now, relatively speaking, it might be less than some parts of the U.S. where we're used to, but much more expensive than places like Poland or the Czech Republic, or even Germany, where we just had come from.
Right.
So we did find some of those expenses to be higher than we're currently used to.
Right. And it doesn't matter what time of year you're traveling is the one thing with
Right.
that. And, you know, a lot of places you can go in off season, you could travel in the wintertime and you're going to see a really drastic cut in what you're going to be paying for accommodations. You really don't see that same drastic cut in, say, Florence. You know,
Right.
you're just going to pay a lot of money for your place. You may see it right in the dead of winter, but usually you can skirt a little and get a break, and you just couldn't get that. Now, if you are somebody that travels with any kind of disability at all, Italy in general would be a challenging area to be. It's a lot of cobblestone. We didn't find that there was accessibility as far as ramps coming up onto sidewalks, or we also found a lot of areas that we were in, Palermo being one of them, and then also a lot of your small towns, the cars are parked on the sidewalks, or they're parked where you typically would walk. So I think that if you're somebody that has a lot of concerns there, it would be a challenging place.
Yeah, a lot of narrow streets, narrow sidewalks, and just as many cars. So that creates a parking problem.
Yeah.
And it's not real conducive to pedestrians.
And a lot of stairs and steps.
A lot of stairs and steps. And these cars, they move rather quickly, and they do not stop for us pedestrians that might need for you to stop so we can cross the street. We would go at an angle, so in case we did get hit, it wouldn't quite hurt as bad. We did see an elderly lady get hit by a car.
Yeah.
And so it's just something
She
to
was
be
fine,
aware
by
of.
the way.
She was
Yeah.
fine. The guy stopped and got
Yeah.
out, got her some water.
Yeah, we were just kind of surprised to see that because, you know, once again, being in Southeast Asia, you kind of had to just force your way across the street. But when you did force your way across the street, they stopped for
They
you.
wouldn't run into you.
They were not going to run into you. In Italy, you feared they were going to run into you. They weren't stopping. I mean, they would just keep pushing up on you. Another thing you're going to find when you are renting your Airbnb or when you are getting a hotel, there is a tourist tax through Italy. So that is going to be a different amount each night based on what city you're in. It's not a flat rate. It depends on each location. So make sure you're aware of that. When you are booking the only experience that we had booking an Airbnb where the price went up dramatically when you add one more person, and then finding out that a big portion of that had to do with the tourist tax that was added on.
Now, like many European countries, I mean, they've got it figured out. I think we should put this in the pro category.
Yeah, it's kind of
But it did kind of hinder us more than once, so we decided to put it in the con category. And that's midday. A lot of restaurants and shops close down, and on Sundays, the grocery stores close,
Yeah.
which I think is a great idea. I wish the entire world would do it that way.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a break and a nap midday. So
Yeah.
that is something that can go in either category. We were going to push it to the pro category, but more than a couple times we would forget, or we would need to go to the grocery store and it's a Sunday afternoon, so we'd have to scramble a little bit.
Yeah, it's something to be aware of. We've made a good practice, or we try to not arrive to a new location on, say, a Sunday, because
Right.
we've done that before, and you go and just want to grab a few groceries and you can't grab anything, so you're really kind of stuck with the convenience store, and that's fine for your basics. But
Yeah.
once again, it's one of those things you just kind of have to be aware of, and I'm sure that as you got used to it, then it would just become normal practice.
Or if you like nightlife, if you're a nightlife type of person that likes to stay up late, eat late, go out, go dancing, whatever you want to do, it's great for that too, because you can take a nap in the middle of the day and then head out that night.
Well, and on that note, they actually don't typically eat their dinner until 7, 8 o'clock at night. So when they're closing down in that midday, when they open back up, say around 5 o'clock, most people aren't going out and having dinner until 7, 8 o'clock at night. Now for us, that once again was kind of in that con category because we're older and we just eat earlier.
We eat at a different time.
We're hungry around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and things aren't open. So an example of that is we went to go just get a takeout pizza, and even the takeout pizza place didn't open until 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay. But, once again, you kind of get used to it. On the note of food, If you have any food concerns as far
Yes.
as gluten or just even wanting to try and eat maybe a lower carb diet, Italy is going to be a challenge for you. I tend to flow more that direction, and eating out is tough. I mean, it's pizza,
tough for her.
it's
Now,
pasta.
Now, I love gluten,
He's fine.
and I love carbs.
He loves gluten.
So I don't think there were many carbs left in Italy when we left. Just
You
so
took
you
care of
know, I love gluten. I love carbs. I didn't have a problem at all. But if you do have a problem, it will be a challenge.
It would be a bit challenging.
Now, transportation is another one where it's kind of hit or miss. We found it to be miss more often than hit. The trains were a little bit outdated and they weren't always on time. There was one time where it actually stopped. We had to get off. Fortunately, it stopped at a station.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
It was
We had to
after a
get
long
off.
day, too.
Yeah, switch trains. Problem with the train. So we did have some complications when it came to the train system. Now that might have just been our bad luck. We don't know, but it is what we experienced over a 2-month period.
Right. And even in the cities, there was not really great accessibility. Some towns that you go
Right.
into, there's a tram that goes through the town, so it makes it really easy to just kind of get around. We didn't find that in the bigger cities or even the smaller areas that we were in. And then if you want to maybe veer and go ahead and use Uber or taxi, which they have, it was expensive, very expensive. Another thing we were really bummed about is that we rely on Wi-Fi, and a lot of places we have traveled to, they have it available on the buses and the trains, and we did not get that in Italy anywhere.
Well,
Even
they
if-
had Wi-Fi, but you had to sign into your email account to hook onto the Wi-Fi. How are you supposed to hook onto your email account if you don't have cell service?
Right. They wanted to send you like a code to your texting
Right.
or an email that made 0 sense to us at all. So we were never able to access it. So that to us was a real downside because
Right.
a lot of time we don't have cell service.
Now, with that being said, we did look into SIM cards for this very reason, and they were quite expensive. By the time we decided to look at SIM cards, we were within a month of leaving Italy anyway, so we decided not to. They were expensive. They
Yeah.
were about $45 a month. So
we actually priced them a couple times.
Yeah.
We went in Florence and priced it, and it was over €40 for a month's time.
Right.
And then we priced it again when we started traveling again, because there were some situations where we did run into needing coverage. And once again, it was just so expensive. We just haven't been used to having to pay that much for coverage.
But we're going to start. We have decided that we're going to break down and we're going to start spending the money to get cell service, the SIM card. Our phones do not take eSIM. Everybody's telling us, catch up. It's 2023 now. Get an eSIM. Our phones don't take eSIM.
No.
So it's a SIM card and it works every time. It works great. You just have to pay for it. So we're going to start doing that.
So now to what just under 2 months in Italy cost us. We ended up going to 4 different areas. We were in Florence, then we kind of did a week of kind of day trips. We went to Puglia, we went to Tropea, and then we ended up down in Sicily in Palermo. So we're going to break down each of those areas for you and the amount of time that we were there. And we are going to start off in Florence.
So our first stop was Florence. Now, we love Florence. We had a great month in Florence. Carrie, picked a great neighborhood for us to stay in as well. It was in walking distance to just about everything. It was your typical Italy, what you might think of if you're in Italy, which was perfect. Now, the Airbnb was also typical of what you might find in a traditional Italian home. It cost $1,700, $1,758 to be exact, and that's quite high for us.
It's very high, and on that note of when I was talking about how it doesn't matter really what time of year you're traveling there, we didn't have a whole lot of options at that point. This is what we were going to pay to get a place that was close enough to the city center and gave us a space that we needed. One of the things that we actually didn't mention in our cons that I would kind of say that started with this location. When you are traveling through a country that is so historically, I mean, it's all the buildings are historical and they're old.
It's
There's
beautifully old.
It's beautifully old,
Yes.
but you are going to deal with all of those non-modern things that you're used to, right? And so we had a few instances in this hotel or in this place that we stayed. We had a chunk of the ceiling fall down on the bed.
On Carrie's side of the
It was
bed.
a good sized chunk of the ceiling. Fortunately, it happened after we were out of bed. There were a lot of just little things that you're going to have to deal with in these older buildings. So just kind of be aware of that. This place definitely checked a lot of those boxes, of being old. But it was a great location, and we did love our time in Florence for sure.
Now, a great thing about where we stayed, the neighborhood we stayed in, was there was 3 grocery stores right nearby. When I say nearby, within maybe a 5 or 10 minute walk, and Carrie wanted to go to each one of them just to make sure that we were going to the right one. I was satisfied in the very beginning with the first one.
Which was like a convenience store.
Had everything I needed. Had every
beer.
carb and every gluten thing that I needed to have. So we did find some great grocery stores. Now, the price we spent on groceries, I would say as often as we eat in, wasn't too bad.
No.
We spent $473 for a month worth of groceries for 2 people, and that includes my beer.
That includes everything
Yep.
in there that we buy at a grocery store. So anything to maintain your household. So if you need laundry detergent or anything. I didn't think that was bad at all.
Right.
We also, one thing I'd say is we were coming off of traveling for just about a month where we were eating out almost every day. And so this includes a lot of eating in.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took a break. And some of you that have been following us for a while now knew that we did some fast travel through Central Europe, which we'll never do again. So we did take some time off and ate indoors.
We ate in great grocery stores, great markets. Next, we have our entertainment costs. This includes eating out, drinking out, and then it also includes anything that we go to do, which
Right.
we actually did. One thing about Florence that I'll say is it's a great central point to put yourself if you want to do day trips from
Right.
there. And so we did go to Cinque Terre and we went to Tuscany. We went on a day trip through Tuscany, which we would highly recommend. You can check out both of those videos as well. And so our costs for that, which I think is incredibly affordable,
Yeah.
was $182.
Now, the $182, I challenge you to do that or less. I think we did a great job there. We're very budgeted. You can spend a lot more money while in Florence doing all the museums and everything else there is to do. The steak Florentine you might want to do. We didn't,
No.
just too expensive for us. But you should probably do it. You'll
Sounds
love it.
amazing.
Yeah, it sounds
We're not
great.
knocking it. We
No.
just didn't want to pay the money for it.
Our transportation costs in Florence, now we walked just about everywhere. So we didn't do the Ubers, we didn't do the city buses, we didn't do anything like that. You can rent those scooters. You get the big fat tires for the cobblestone, which looks like a lot of fun. I know for sure Carrie could do it. I would get hurt. So we didn't touch those, but we did take a train out to La Spezia, and we did the coast. And those train tickets cost us $68.
Yeah, really not bad. One thing we do look for when we are finding a place to stay is how close it's going to be to that main transportation source. And because in Florence we knew we wanted to do a lot of day trips, we knew we didn't want to constantly have that transportation budget go up because we were having to get a taxi or find transportation to get to the train station. So it was a quick walk. It was maybe a 15-minute walk from where we were at to get to the train station. Now on to our miscellaneous expenses. Now this is anything extra that we have to get that month. I needed to do a little bit of shopping for just miscellaneous stuff that I needed, makeup or hair supply or whatever, and that was $50.
$50? Now that sounds expensive, but I got a haircut, and I've gotten haircuts all over the place for anywhere between $2 to $8. I thought $15 in Budva was expensive. I spent $30 to get a haircut in Florence, and I'll tell you what, it didn't look any different from any of those other haircuts I got. Now the guy did a great job. He's very friendly. He got a $2 tip, but $30 for a haircut.
Yeah, that's a lot. So our miscellaneous for that month came to $80, which is a lot, but we don't typically have a lot of miscellaneous expenses. So
Our phone data plan, now, we did mention that on the trains they have Wi-Fi. If you have a data plan, we didn't. I think moving forward, we may start paying extra for that data plan. But while we were in Italy, we did not. So the grand total for our phones in Italy was $0.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, we had some honestly kind of bad experiences of not having data
Yeah.
plan. We had a point where we got locked out of our Airbnb and the key broke off, and we had a situation where you needed Wi-Fi or needed phone coverage to actually get into the building and then get into the door, which is
You had
ridiculous.
to download an app and unlock the door from an app.
It was not a good experience, and it would have been a much better experience had we had phone coverage.
Yes.
So anyway, going forward, we have decided that is something we are probably just going to bite the bullet and do, but we did not have it during that. Next, we have our monthly reoccurring expenses. In this category, we have our health insurance. Brian goes with Cigna Global. We actually both used to. I have since switched over to where I have Safety Wing. The other thing that we have in there is Netflix, because you gotta have Netflix. And then the other one that we do have is a VPN, which if you travel all the time, we highly suggest you have a VPN. They're very affordable. It's just another safety element to have in place to protect you when you're in either an Airbnb, a hotel, an airport trying to get online. And it also is what we have available so that we can access all those shows on Netflix that we enjoy watching that are from the States, because without that
Yes.
VPN we can't do that.
Right. Now, we have gotten several comments when we do these cost of living type videos, when we include those things, that we shouldn't include those things. Well, yes, we should. Because if you're traveling and you don't have insurance, you need to have insurance. And you also need a VPN. So that's why those are included. If you want to subtract the price of the Netflix, go right ahead. But you should always have insurance, and you should always have a VPN.
So if you are interested in checking out any of those, the links are down below, and you can go ahead and take a look at them. Like I said, it's an affordable way to just protect yourself. So our cost for our reoccurring monthly fees that month was $274.
So again, I don't think $274 is too bad for insurance, VPN, and Netflix. For us, it's a necessity. Now, our grand total for Florence for 28 nights was $2,835.
Yeah, you know, that's it. That's just a high month
Yeah.
for us. We knew that was going to be the case. We don't have any regrets because it really centralized us to everything. And I think that when we look back at that month and how much we saw
Yeah.
and experienced, it was totally worth
You
it.
can't put a price on memories, Carrie.
Yeah, you can. Now, after leaving Florence, we headed to Puglia. This had come so highly recommended to us, and boy, we do not regret our time we
Yeah.
spent there. We were there for 4 nights. We stayed in Bari, and it was a great landing point to just get yourself to all the little towns right around there. Now, one thing that you will notice if you do follow our channel is there was not a video on this area or the area right after this.
Yeah.
There's a reason behind that.
Now, if we had done a video, they would have been really
They would have been.
fantastic
It
videos.
was so cool.
No, we took a vacation. We spent the time in Central Europe, and then we shot, 15 videos in 7 weeks. They all had to be edited and taken care of, so we got all that done. So we got down there, put the cameras away,
Yeah.
and we just enjoyed our time.
Yeah, and it was a nice break. So we do highly recommend that area. And so what we had was a Airbnb. It was a great location. We were right next to the train. We didn't necessarily explore Bari at all. We went into the town a little bit. It's not our favorite location necessarily, but we were there to go to all the outlying towns around
Right.
there. So we spent a total of $418 on our accommodation.
Yeah, and that's, again, 4 nights. That's not bad. You do have to have an app to open the door, but other than that, it was a nice place. Now, only spending 4 nights in Bari, exploring Puglia, our grocery bill was minimal. We did eat in a couple nights. We did go to the grocery store
Yeah.
and grab some cold beers because some of those day trips were long days. So we did indulge with that. but that bill only came to $46.
And because we were moving around a bit and seeing things during the day and doing these day trips, we ate out more than we probably
Right.
normally do, and we drank out more than we normally do. And so that was $110, which for us, for entertainment, because that wasn't paying to get into things or anything like that. It really was just eating and drinking out. And so 110 in 4 days is quite a bit.
But the drinking out part, if you've never had white wine from the Puglia region in Italy, find yourself a bottle.
Yeah.
Because it is, I'm going to say it, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's great wine.
We enjoyed the wine out
Yes.
a lot more than we were getting beers. We were getting wine. He had his beers in the house.
Yes. Now, our transportation while we were there sounds like it's expensive, but it's really not. Came to $164. But 133 of that was just to get there from Florence. And $133 for a fast train from Florence to Bari sounds like a bargain.
Yeah, it was a long train ride,
Yeah.
and we did pay just a little bit more to get the fast train, not a lot more. It was totally worth it.
It was totally worth
We
it.
cut off like quite a few hours. So, and then $31 of that was our transportation to get around to all the different places, because we did 3 different day trips, and so I just kind of feel like $31 for both of us to do 3 days of moving around is really affordable.
It sounded like a great deal. It sounds high to begin with, but once you break it down, it was very affordable.
So our grand total for exploring Puglia for 4 nights was $738.
Yeah.
I would do that over again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would too, but this is starting to add up, I'll be honest. I'm starting to sweat a little bit with all these numbers. Okay, from there we went west and ended up in Tropea. Probably the highlight of my trip. I really enjoyed Tropea. I thought it was a cool little place, great beaches, great community. I really, really liked it a lot. We had a really cool hotel we stayed in, right in the center of everything. And for me, whatever we spent was worth it. How much did we spend? $302 for 2 nights, is that right?
So a little bit more, but
Yeah.
we were right in the heart of everything, which we don't normally put ourselves right in the center
No.
like that. So it was super convenient to just be able to walk right out the door, go get something to eat, and take
It
a
included
nap.
breakfast.
It did include breakfast with a really
breakfast.
cool view,
Yeah.
so that was a lot of fun. Yeah, beautiful area, and we kind of found that that would be an area we would go back to
Right, yeah.
and spend a little bit more time, because there's not a lot there to do, but it had a beautiful beach.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
had a great time.
Okay, so for 2 days, we didn't need any groceries because we were in a hotel and they provided breakfast, like we said. So we had 0 on groceries, but we did have in our entertainment budget, we did spend $74. We ate out, we had some great pizza, and we had a place where you could get some charcuterie and wine. It was really affordable, it was like $20.
Right.
If you kind of search a little bit, you can find the places that are either a little bit out of town or even right in the center that are affordable. Just don't immediately hop into that most touristy place, because we did that and we actually got up from our seats and walked out because the prices were so high.
You walked out on them.
We did.
Now, transportation from Bari straight across pretty much to the west side to Tropea. Again, it's a slower train. We didn't take a fast train this time. That train cost us $87.
That was another very long day.
Yeah.
Fortunately, when you do get into Tropea, the train station is pretty much right there at the center of town, so you just kind of walk down a hill right into the center,
Right.
so it was easy.
Especially their roller bags going downhill. It's a little more difficult going back
Yeah, going
up.
back, not so
It's
much.
later, yeah.
The total cost for 2 nights in Tropea was $463. You know,
Worth it.
it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
We really loved both of those.
We
those
really did. We had a
areas,
great
yeah.
time.
Next, we moved to Palermo. Now, Palermo, we were supposed to be there for 28 days. We ended up having to cut our time short. If you watched one of our past videos, we talked about how we needed to save some time for in the Schengen because of a cruise that we're going to be
Right.
taking
Right.
that we didn't originally plan on. And so we ended up only being in Palermo for 23 of those days, and but this is for the full amount that we paid, which was $1,162.
Yeah, we had to eat a couple days, well, a few days,
Yeah.
because we left early.
But even we had looked at booking something different to not be paying for days we weren't going to be there, but it was still going to cost us a lot more because we got that month-long discount.
Right. Now, you're also not going to see a video on Palermo, not because we were still on vacation, but because, you know, we don't bring you the negative video. We just don't like to do that. If we're not big on a place, we won't bring you a video at all. And we decided not to bring you a video on Palermo. Now, as sure as I am sitting here, that we're going to get a negative comment on that as well. And again, that's fine. We gave it a chance. We did not give all of Sicily a chance. So we will be back in Sicily at some point. But Palermo, we just didn't care for it.
We didn't care for it, and you know, honestly, there were times we walked to areas thinking, okay, are we missing something? What are we not seeing? Because you know, we had watched enough videos where people were always so positive about Palermo. We didn't see it. We honestly could not see what people saw as a draw to come there, because the rest of Italy was so beautiful to us, and Palermo did not have that. It's very rough around the edges, and we can see past rough around the edges, but it was more than that.
I'm rough around the edges.
It was more than that. So yeah, we just sat down one day and decided it was not a video we wanted to bring you, but we are going to share our costs with you because we did stay there.
Now, there was one positive thing about Palermo, and that was the grocery store. It was only a block and a half away, and it was a great grocery store. So we did eat in a lot, because we didn't go out a lot.
No.
And we did drink quite a bit of beer and wine while we were there.
We did take our last moments to enjoy the Italian wine at a really affordable price. So thankfully, our Airbnb there was really great as far as the interior was great and spacious. Yes. So we didn't mind being home, and we got a lot of work done. So that was good.
A lot of work done, which needed to get done.
Yeah.
So our grocery bill that we carried up 6 flights of stairs every time was $290.
Yeah, so not terribly bad. Now, our entertainment costs, this included, because we honestly didn't really go out in Palermo very much, and so, but we did do a day trip to a town called Cefalù, which is just up the coastline. Yes. And in hindsight, we do wish that we would have probably just stayed there, because it was a really adorable town. Yes, and we really enjoyed it. So while we were on that day trip, we did eat out there, and we enjoyed some wine and some beers. So our entertainment budget was $58.
$58 for
3 days.
3 days, including the day trip. If you haven't seen that video, by the way, it's a dandy. Check that one out. That's an old person word. It's a good one.
I think my grandpa used to say
Probably
that
did.
word.
So now, getting from Tropea to Palermo by train again, and again, it wasn't a bad day at all. There was a transfer and a ferry ride we had to take. That all cost what? That cost $46, which again, with the ferry, the trains and everything, didn't seem like that much.
It seems like kind of a headache to do that trip, because you are getting off of the train, you have to then walk to the ferry, take the ferry across, and get on another train. But the train station is right where the ferry's at, and so it's actually pretty
There's
easy.
actually people there helping you. At least there was somebody there helping us to figure it all out. It was really easy. So then there was also the day trip cost. The train from Palermo to Cefalù was $30. And that train was about an hour and a half long there, about 3 hours back, because for whatever reason the train stopped on the tracks for about an hour.
A really long time.
45 minutes.
Once again, on a really hot, long day. So that was a total of $76 for our transportation costs for Palermo. Okay, so once again, because it's a new month, new full month, we had our reoccurring monthly expenses. So same things covered again, and that was $274.
$274. In addition to that was our accommodations for the 23 nights, but we paid for 28. In Palermo was $1,860.
So the total cost for traveling through Italy for just under 2 months, and we feel like we saw a lot of Italy, was $5,896. Pretty steep.
Yeah, pretty steep. That's $2,948 each. For us, that's quite a bit of money. But we're in Italy, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, you can't put a price on memories, so.
You actually can. And so those, if you have been following, you know that this is now 3 months in a row where we have definitely gone beyond what our comfortable budget is.
Yes.
We did know that and we planned on it, and that is why we have now exited that area to an area we are saving some money.
We're saving some money now. We saved money on the front end by being in Southeast Asia.
Right.
So we've got this year balanced out. We think we'll know at the end of the year when we do that video.
It's been a long one. All right. Cheers.
We've had to learn, being from the United States, being Americans, being American.